Hey, what's up everybody, Blaze for here, and today for you another video of BlackCloverMobile. And inside today's video, guys, we're going to be going over everything you need to know about gear itself and pretty much a whole complete gear guide. Now, this is something free-to-plays are going to need to know, pay-to-wins are going to need to know, everyone's going to need to know this as much as possible. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. I'm going to be breaking down every last gear set that you guys most likely will need to have. So firstly, when it comes down to gear, we're going to talk about the gear system itself. Now, the gear system itself starts off with at least this whole puzzle system, in which this puzzle system you're able to unlock the whole thing around it by getting up your character for the rarities. Now, depending on the rarity that you are, the lower the at least puzzle will be. So for example, since we have SR units, the puzzle base is a little bit lower. If we have an R unit, the puzzle base is even lower than that, and so on and so forth. So you want to try and get every character pretty much to LR, or at least get them as high as possible in order to have their whole thing unlocked. By doing this, you pretty much just have to work on your bond system and at least fill up this Clover here. The more you get up their rarity, the more of these things are going to pop up. Now, going into the gear system itself, you guys are going to be able to skip around for different gear pieces you're going to want to see. I'll probably put timestamps down below for different gear sets if you want to know what they do, different things like that, or pretty much the most efficient way to do gear pieces themselves. So be sure to look out for that at the timestamps down below. Now, going with the efficient way, or at least how these gear sets work, we're going to at least look at each gear set themselves. So I'm going to use Mayami as at least my guinea pig here to pretty much show off everything that's going to be going on. Now, Mayami's a little bit in a weird way where I have him with a 4-piece of attack gear, pretty much boosting his attack all over here, which we can see this set over here. And then I also have a 2-piece for crit rate, if I'm right here, in which this is pretty much helping me get off my crits, helping me get my regular damage, but it's not the most efficient way you want to go about it. But before we end up going into the efficient side of things, I got to tell you exactly which sets that you guys are going to be looking at and going to be wanting. Now, pretty much where you go ahead and see these sets, or at least where you will be farming them, is if you click the Season 1 tab right here. You then want to go ahead and go into this side here and press this in order to find your gear sets. Now, all of your gear sets are separated in forms of attack, defense. We then have ourselves speed and defense, and so on and so forth. Pretty much different ways that you're going to be farming these guys, in which go all the way from at least R up to LR. Anyone at LR right now is, I would be crazy to see anyone there. But then you have, of course, the secondary ones, which are your more often kind of, these pieces are for specific characters here, in which you have yourself HP, crit rate, accuracy, and then you have, of course, the rest of these guys, which actually I think they're a little bit at the top actually. Oh no, these are the twofers. And then you have the rest of these guys here, in which we have crit damage after using a special. If I'm right, this one should be penetration. I have to actually really quickly just make sure I'm correct about that. Don't want to make sure, don't want to have any of you guys with any wrong information here. So let's go ahead and check that just to make sure I'm right here. Yes, this one here is actually crit resistance. Then we have another one down here being the yellow one with the sword here, in which is going to be, let's make sure this is correct because it's always these guys that's kind of weird. This one is the penetration gear. Almost got them mixed up. So these sets are the ones you really want to at least be looking at if you're trying to make a character pretty much for their 2 sets. Their 4 sets are going to be kind of weird, of course, but of course, you can use them in any way possible. Once again, there are 2 that you're able to at least farm for the further you get up inside the gear place. Now that we know the gears here, we're going to go over at least what each one of them do. So I don't even know why I tabbed up out of that here. Starting here, this is where my time steps will begin. So of course, you guys can go ahead and go around. But we have the attack gear set here. Now, with this attack gear set, you have a 2-piece and you also have a 4-piece. Pretty much with the regular just old attack here for the 2-piece, you get yourself 220 physical attack and 220 magical attack. Now this can be good for, of course, magic and physical characters. This is an increase on both. And with the 4 set, you get yourself a 10% damage increase. I ended up using this for Yami for the most part. Your DPS users are definitely going to be the ones that you really want to try emphasize having this at least a 4 set of. And then you can do whatever you want afterwards. Going into the next set, of course, we end up having the defense related set here, in which is actually pretty good for anyone you're using, because mainly this set as a 2-piece gives you 250 defense, It's called Blooming Mysterious Tree. And the full set of this one gives you actually 20% block rate. So if you have a character who's mainly like your, I want to say, type of defense type character here, such as like you have Asta, you have Noelle, such like that, you probably would like them to have at least that 20% block rate. Even Radies, for example, having that 20% block rate from the full set will definitely be amazing, because then they take less damage, providing your team that coverage that you very well so need, and which you can either pair with maybe a 2 set of crit resistance gear, stuff like that, and pretty much just make them that overall tank that they're at least going to be. Now we're going into the uncharted territory, which is the newer side of the game here, or at least the newer little sets here, in which we're going to be looking at the HP set first. Now the HP set is one of those sets that no matter what, you're going to want on your support characters. It really helps out a lot. This one's called Sakuyuyo no Sora, in which the half set for this one gives you an increased HP by 2,000, while the 4 set for this one gives you an increased HP by 10%. This is probably something that's a little bit iffy here. It could go for your supporter characters. It can go for characters that, of course, are actually going good in your team. So if you wanted to, you could run 2-piece on Yami and then have like 4 set of attack or something. So he has that extra health to tank a little bit while still being able to dish out some of that damage here. This game relies heavily on pretty much creativity with these gears. So as you can tell, they're not all bound by certain specific supporting roles or roles themselves, but actually can be used fairly diverse in any way you want them to be. Going into our next one here, which is actually the one right here being the accuracy set here. The accuracy set is fairly interesting. I actually kind of get them kind of confused, because there's one for accuracy and then one for like speed, and then another one I think for defense. They're kind of weird how they look. It's kind of weird how it is, but pretty sure this one's actually the speed set one, if I'm right. I ended up saving it just to make sure. No, this is the accuracy set right here. So when it comes down to accuracy itself is for a 2 set is going to have for 1 turn it will increase accuracy by 10. And then for the 4 set, it increases your accuracy by 10% and increases crit rate by 5%. This is one of those type of things that I would say is a hit or miss set for me personally, because I wouldn't be using the 4 set that often, seeing how hard it really is to squeeze in 4 type of sets on characters right now. And as you further get up in gear themselves, they're going to take up more and more space. Now I'm going to go further over this as we go ahead and just get into the video, so be sure to look forward to that. But this set itself is called Old Hunter, so be sure to look at that if you do want this set as well. Now going into the last 2 for at least the gears themselves before I actually break down everything else, or at least the last 3, because there's actually 3 in this whole section. We have ourselves crit damage. Now this is the crit damage set. This is the one that probably a lot of you guys who are just going out for raw attackers are going to be looking for. It's called Cold Breath. It was also in the beta. The 2 set gives yourself, if you have a special move that has been used, you increase your crit damage. So pretty much any character you use, once they use their special move, they're going to get a 10% amount of crit damage increase for their next move. Absolutely busted. So let's just say you just one tapped the person, or at least you just did a ton of damage to a person with an ultimate. You pretty much can go ahead, use this set as a 2-piece here, use an AoE skill as one like you have with Blue Yami or Red Yami, for example, and you're going to do dummy amount of damage. I think I did it earlier, hit about 94k, and it is crazy, I tell you. This is probably one of your best sets that you're going to be looking for an attack user. Now for the 4 set, you end up getting yourself actually increased damage, crit damage by 10% off rip. And this is another good piece that doesn't have any actual, like, I want to say, downsides to it. But I would personally say get the only 2 set for this one, because no matter what, you're going to get that 10% crit damage as long as you use a special move. And in any fight, you're going to be using at least 1 special move. So it's definitely worth getting as at least a 2-piece set, but that's personally my recommendation. Going into the next side of things for at least the gear over here, we're going into the crit resistance type of gear. Now, this crit resistance gear is kind of new to the game if I remember right, because I don't remember seeing it in the beta. It is called Sweet Break, in which crit resistance gear is a half set. It has a half set and it has a full set, but for this one, it's kind of interesting. For the second set, or at least the 2-piece here, you get yourself 4% critical resistance. And then for the 4-piece of it, at the start of the battle, you're able to get 20% chance of debuff resistance for 2 turns. Now, for any character who's really debuffing, this is amazing because you keep yourself from getting knocked back by Lotus, getting stunned, or like any debuffs on you from like those characters who are currently in the meta quite a lot today. You get rid of that whole thing that's going to be happening even in PvE. But what I would like to say for this one, this is another piece that I do recommend as a 2-piece set. That 4% critical resistance will help you in the long run, seeing that a lot of people are running crit damage and crit rate. They're trying to pretty much get those hits in, to get those one-shots, get done with PvP. Heck, even enemies are trying to pretty much wipe your team as fast as possible. So having critical resistance by 4%, just as a 2 set, is absolutely amazing. And I can explain further in the video in a second. Now, coming down to, I think, our last 2 of the actual video here. I think it should be, oh no, our last one here, which is actually these pieces. Now, this is totally new. They were not in the beta, from my at least knowledge, I would like to say. Did not see these guys ever before. So they're kind of new to me whatsoever. But let's just go ahead and get into them. Now, these pieces are, I would like to say, I can't say really interesting, but they are like, they're in that position where it's kind of like weird to see if they're really good to me. Now, they increase your penetration by 5 on the 2 set throughout the battle. And it's throughout the battle. It's never just like it's not just a finite amount. It's actually just 5 throughout the entire battle. You're going to continue going and getting that stack up. Or either you use the 4 set, which gives you 10% defense penetration. I'm unsure how I feel about this set, to be honest. I'm not sure about the 2-piece or the 4-piece, to be honest. I haven't really gave it a try just yet. Still kind of grinding up just attack and defense for most characters, or HP and defense. So this one is a little bit of an enigma to me. I don't really understand how it works. I don't really understand how it's gonna work, but it's still good nonetheless, I would think. It just depends on what character you do put it on. Now, of course, there are some other gears that I actually did not mention here, because I think I could not find it. Was it further up? Because I did not see them inside of the yeah, I didn't see it inside of here. So unfortunately, I think I just passed it, or maybe I did see it here and I just didn't say anything about it. This one was, okay, yeah, this one right here, which is one of them that ended up missing, which is called Dmg GSet. Now, this is your crit chance gear. Crit chance gear, crit chance gear. Ah, I love this. Okay, this set is probably one of my most loved sets, only because it is quite literally the savior, okay? I use it every now and again for, at least for the most part. And having the 2-piece, when your HP is above 70% or more, it increases your crit chance by 10%. Having at least a healer in your team keeping your HP up high will definitely make this really easy, and I really recommend it if you're going to use this set. The full set gives you for 2 turns, if your attack was not a crit, it will increase your crit percent by 10%. I kind of like that, but that's still a double-edged sword because you're reliant on not critting. And you, no matter what, you kind of want to crit anyways. So I do suggest this 2-piece for this one would most likely be great. But once again, you have to think, having the full set, you do get both sides anyways. But or at least you do get both stats anyways, or effects. But it's still kind of weird when you go about thinking about that. So surely do understand about that here. Now, going out with this, we're actually going to talk about some things that you guys are going to be kind of interested in, and this is how you can use your gear efficiently. Talked about it a little bit at the beginning, but by efficiently I mean pretty much you want to have your character dealing the most you can deal no matter what happens here. This pretty much can pertain to having at least a 4 set, then 2 set, 2 set, 2 set, which is possible. You just actually have to get your character's kind of in that mode of being able to actually swap like that, or you can go ahead and run something else. Now currently I think one of my units had, yes, Yuno is running himself full attack here while also running crit damage and crit rate and crit damage. It is fairly possible you do want to try and min-max your character as much as possible if you can get many of these, but the only problem that you will come across is as rarities go up, you can see that they actually go ahead and take more spaces. So one thing that you are going to do, or at least you're going to need to do and actually understand, is certain pieces will be actually 4 pieces. These 4 pieces can actually be made. They can actually be at least tried to be crafted with Vanessa, and they are very much so helpful. Now, last time I checked with Vanessa, she could do it, but I'm trying to see if she can still get it here. But this is probably going to be your best shot of getting the gear pieces that you really do want, in which there's only specific pieces at times that will give you that 4 piece. So you have to really look out for this. My best recommendation when it does come down to it is try your hardest to get these type of pieces here. You want to at least get 2 of those pieces if you possibly can, and then after that you go ahead and pack in together a bunch of 2-piece sets. So for example, let's use this as an example using just speed. You want to try your best, get 4 of these here, get yourself stacked a couple of these, and then try to get a 2-piece, whether you have to use the rarity a little bit lower, and it will pay off. Although the rarity can be lower, it doesn't mean that it's just bad off rip, even though you can have LR gear boosting your main set and then end up having a R gear for, I don't know, your other part of the main set. As you notice, they take up less and less space, in which this is the most efficient way to use up your at least space in it, at least at the beginning of the game here. Now this could change whether if the meta shifts or if things shift in the future, but so far what I've seen when it's coming down to just at least having those effects the right way, this really does help out a lot, having yourself split up a little bit more. Now I'm gonna have to change this over to at least an SR piece as well to at least get that 4 set, because of course as an SR piece the metal actually does fit as 4, and so then I'm able to have the 4 set while also starting another set here, which could be another 2 set here, and that is what we're going to end up doing in the future. But we went over everything, where it goes, where how each set works, everything that you might want to know when it does come to that, and then of course we went over how to do it efficiently. So if I answered all your questions here today, be sure to smash that like button with your forehead and consider subscribing if you are new. I'm going to continue with these guides, and this is literally just the first, or at least the first set of guides I'm doing. If you have any questions within the game, whether it's how I raise my power, which might be the next guide that you guys will be seeing here, but have any other type of questions like that, be sure to tell me down below in the comment section. It really helps me out, and those likes and everything as well helps me out in the algorithm, and you guys have been killing it. Like the last video we had is absolutely skyrocketing. I'm loving the support, and I can't wait to continue doing content for you guys. Y'all make it feel worth it. But till next time everybody, hope you guys stay safe, stay sharp, and stay determined, and peace out everybody.